Hey there, fight fans and Central Indiana Sports Report listeners. The Combat Sports Report is about to have its regular time and day, a regular schedule each week when it will be released. We will let you know when, we will let you know where, we will let you know exactly what the Central Indiana Sports Report's future entails just as soon as our plan is finalized. What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 308.2, the Combat Sports Report with Hanson Crafton, his UFC 317 preview, and a little bit of heavyweight boxing.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, fight fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and the Combat Sports Report with your guy, Hanson Crafton. Always here to talk a little fighting. Today, we're going to preview UFC 317, and we're going to talk a little boxing. So let's start with the boxing, Hanson. Deontay Wilder's fighting. Give me the details.
Surprising Friday night fight. Deontay Wilder is fighting. It's kind of a comeback fight for him. He hasn't really fared too well in his last few fights. He's kind of ran into some adversity. He's lost two of his last fights. He got knocked out in his last fight against Big Bang Zhang. Lost a decision to Joseph Parker, which isn't really a slouch. Joseph Parker is a good boxer. Before that, he lost the two fights to Fury.
You got to think, though, Hanson, you got to think that this is a guy who was just fighting a little above his skill level and still should be an effective fighter if he gets the right opponents, right?
Right. He was always fighting above his skill level, but he had that weapon that nobody else had. I mean, he was Thor. At one point, he was Thor. The right hand was the hammer. He could knock anybody out if he touched him with it. But you always saw the signs. They were there in all his fights. The two fights with Ortiz were they showed that. He got outboxed both of those fights, but he was just able to knock him out when he touched him. And he's always had that one-punch power. He hasn't had it of late. I think, without that, he's a very beatable boxer. His footwork's very sloppy. He kind of throws from his hips. He gets out of position pretty easy.
Right.
He's still a decent.
All the things that you expect from a late comer to this fight game. Nobody blames him. To get where he got with his late start is an unbelievable story.
Oh yeah, especially because basically he has a sick daughter. He basically is like, I'm gonna fight to support my sick daughter. He just jumped into boxing. Next thing you know, he's a world champion. At one point, he was ranked #1 fighter in the world. It was back and forth between him and Joshua for a while. But once Joshua got beat by Ruiz, I think people kind of leaned towards Wilder. But then when Fury came back, Fury kind of answered that. And so
he was so close to beating Fury, man.
Twice. Out of those three fights, 2 times he almost got him.
I'm talking about the one where I've never seen anybody get hit harder and get back up, ever.
Got a little help from the ref. It was a long 10 count. But Fury just kind of came up like The Undertaker.
It was unbelievable. Not just that he got up, but he got up and took control of the fight after he got knocked down like that.
Yeah, he won the last 2 rounds after getting knocked down like that.
That's just bad luck for Wilder because that would have knocked down 99 out of 100. I kept down 99 out of 100 guys, and I don't think he was prepared for him to get up. To be honest, I thought he quit inside of his mind. And it should have.
Yeah.
There's no way he should have expected. Anyway, Tyrrell Herdon seems like a pretty good fight to kind of test to see where you are.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. He's got an opponent right now it's one of those to where, if you look him up on BoxRec, Tyrrell Herndon's a 1-star. If Wilder can't beat this guy, then it's over. I already think it kind of is just because I don't see him beating the top heavyweights right now. He's not going to beat He's not going to beat
I don't
Usyk.
think he's ever going to beat those top heavyweights again. But there's no reason he can't have a career
Yeah,
if he can beat this. If he can beat this guy.
I think, it just as a boxing fan, and I'm pretty sure other fans feel the same way, even though where they're at in their career, if he wins, you still kind of want to see him and Joshua. They should have fought 6 years ago, but
Yes.
I think that fight's still there for both of them if he can
Yeah.
win.
It would be a good draw.
Yeah, it would. It would be a really good draw. They could do it anywhere. You can do it here in the States. You can do it overseas, and it's going to draw either place. So I think that's probably the biggest thing on the line for him is if he does win, he still will have one huge payday that he can be able to cash on. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm super interested just because I was a huge Wilder fan back in the day.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it. Love him.
yeah, I mean,
I've never saw him in a fight. I didn't want him to win. I'll tell you that.
right, and the knockout power is just always, for a heavyweight, it's just always exciting. So I'm very interested in it. I don't really know what to expect. Like I said, he hasn't looked great of late, but like you said, this is a type of opponent to where, maybe he can have a little fire in him.
And let's be honest, if he's been working on continuing his power, he's a little bit older, but that doesn't mean you're any less strong.
Right.
And that doesn't mean he cannot be a knockout merchant again right below top level.
Yeah, certain guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Be great for
interesting.
him to come back and kind of and maybe one day there's not quite a heavyweight championship not quite ready and he steps in and gets another shot. Who knows if this works out?
Right, right. I think if,
He's a
win
name.
this, yeah, exactly. And that's what boxing, 9 times out of 10, they prefer the name over the better fighter.
Yep. And when uh, Evander Holyfield came back second, third, fourth times, never expected him to achieve what he did. And of course, Evander Holyfield, much superior.
Right.
Maybe the best technical boxer in heavyweight history compared to the one of the least technical champions in heavyweight history. But I'm just saying, it happens.
Right. Yeah, and
Uh,
Evander didn't have that equalizer that Wilder has.
that's true. Very good point, especially at the heavyweight division.
Hmm.
But man, did he have a chin, and man, did he have
Yeah,
toughness.
he could
Ooh.
take it.
I still every once in a while put on the Evander Holyfield Lennox Lewis trilogy just to watch great old heavyweight boxing.
Lennox is
Mm,
a very good fighter. He's kind of underrated when it gets talked about
yeah,
all time, guys. Lennox was good.
that's because the first half of his career he wasn't very good and he didn't have the right trainers. And by the end of his career, when he did have the right trainers, he was a machine and
Right.
he had that all he had early in his career really was that jab that nobody could solve. But by the end of his career, not only did he have a jab and a hook and all of it, he also had the chin by the end.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
And that's what was impressive about his career.
yeah, a lot of people like to not really give him credit for the Klitschko fight because they stopped him for the cut. But I mean, he cut him
Yeah,
open,
he
so he
won the
still should get
fight.
the
Yes,
credit
he
for that.
did.
Yeah.
Of course. People who complain about that don't understand boxing.
No, I mean, if you can't
It's
continue
part of
because
it,
you
man.
got cut, then you shouldn't have got cut.
That's right. That's exactly right, Hanson. You're my kind of fight fan. That's why I love this segment. All right, well, let's turn our attention to UFC. Oh, before we do that, Wilder fight is on pay-per-view, so you're probably not going to see it live unless you're willing to spend $25. My
Yeah.
suggestion for fight fans is always just wait till it comes on YouTube because it will.
Yeah.
Get the details, watch the highlights, and unless you like to pay money for it, I know a lot of people do, and God bless you. I'm just saying, some of us are fight fans without extra money to spend. By the way, that's why they should ban pay-per-view for these. There are
Yeah.
enough other money-making options now that they should ban pay-per-view on this. But it's not my thing, so I'm just letting you know that ppv.com, Fubo, Sling PPV, pay-per-view, of course, and some cable providers will have that for you if that you are interested in watching that live. Now let's turn our attention to the UFC 317, and before I get your thoughts on that, might as well go ahead and do this, Hanson. It begins the early prelims at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Pass, and Disney Plus. Then the prelims begin at 8 p.m. It's on ESPN, Disney Plus, and ESPN Deportes. Then you like that?
Yeah.
And then the main card starts at 10 p.m. and is available exclusively on ESPN Plus pay-per-view in the United States. And it features a few really good fights and a really good main event. Hanson, we got Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Take it away.
Yeah, so this is a big fight. It's a fan favorite fight too. Charles Oliveira is a huge fan favorite. Guys love this guy. He's a guy that's been fighting for a long time. You've pretty much seen him grow up fighting. He's been through the up and downs, slow start to the career, came in young. Like we was talking about the last time, UFC is the worst place to start your career because you're fighting nothing but top level guys. And that's how Oliveira, you run through his career at 55, 45. He's fought the toughest of the tough. He was a champion. He's beat a lot of good guys. And now he's back at a title shot. It is vacant. Islam, the champ, did move up to 170. He's going to fight for the 170 title now. And then you got Topuria, who's just been on a roll. He's been steamrolling everybody at 145 pounds. He was the featherweight champ, so now he vacated. He's coming up to lightweight to search for his second belt. He's a very big puncher, good boxing. Teddy
And
Atlas
a huge
said he
favorite,
might be,
right?
Yeah. Teddy Atlas said he might be the best boxer in UFC right now.
Whoa.
Power in both hands, goes to the body.
Whoa.
He sets up his shots very well. He's fun to watch. He's coming off back-to-back just outstanding performances. He's knocked out Volkanovski, who was a guy who hadn't been stopped before, and he knocked out Max Holloway in his last fight. And Max is a guy who I don't even think Max has ever been dropped. So, I mean, it was a really impressive finish for Topuria in his last fight. It's one of those where, Charles is tough. That is one of his things. Early in his career, like I said, he was younger, kind of thrown to the wolves in an early UFC career, but he did have questions surrounding his heart. He would quit, lay down a few fights. But that's been he's been the opposite of that lately. When he went on that run where he got the lightweight championship and defended a few times, he had fights where he got hurt in the first round. Heck, I think in 3 of his 4 title fights, he got dropped in the first round and then ended up finishing the guy in the second or third round of the fight. He's beat guys like Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler twice, Justin Gaethje. I mean, those are top guys at 155 pounds.
These are both finishers, right? That's
yeah.
we say that Topuria is the heavy favorite, but again, this is why we love fighting, right? He's fighting a guy who could definitely finish.
Yeah, Oliveira can finish you on the ground and standing. He's a guy who's got good boxing. He's from a really good camp in Brazil, Chuta Boxing, which is really good stand-up fighters. And he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he can submit you. He can knock you out. Oliveira's a finisher. He's got a lot of finishes on his record. I think he's got the most finishes in UFC history. So this is a really fun fight. It's a good fight. It's 2 deserving guys for the belt. A lot of times you don't see it as much UFC because Dana always gives you the fights you want. But you see in boxing a lot, sometimes guys aren't deserving for title fights. But these 2 are the most deserving right now. They're the 2 that everybody would want to see. So that's a really fun fight for a vacant belt.
And what are the odds this one turns into a hug fest, Hanson?
0. So Ilia is going to go for the finish, and then Charles is always looking to finish as well. Like I said, he can get you on the ground and on the feet. I don't see this one being boring at all. Honestly, I don't think it goes past 2 rounds. I think either Topuria takes his head off early or Charles gets a finish somewhere around 2.
And the co-main event is a flyweight title.
Yeah, this is another good one. Kakar France is the challenger. He's a fan favorite as well. He comes from a really good camp. Now, he's kind of been up and down, but he does have some good wins on his record. He beat a former champion, Cody Garbrandt. He just came off of a fight against Usyk where he stopped Usyk, and I think he was a pretty decent underdog in that fight. A lot of people thought Usyk was going to win, get another shot at the title, Carl France went in there, kind of took care of business and got him out of there. He's fighting Pantoja, Alexandre Pantoja. This guy's a really good fighter. It's a lot of times these lightweight guys don't get the credit they deserve for being good fighters, but this guy's a really good fighter. He's beat everybody they've put in front of him. You're talking about Brandon Moreno.
In his prime, right?
He's in his prime. He's good on both areas, ground and feet. He's not really the finisher you would like to see, but a lot of those lighter weight guys aren't. But like I said, he's beaten everybody they've put in front of him. They even went and got another champ from another organization, Oscar Ra, and he beat him as well. He actually tapped him out. He's a really good fighter. I don't know if this one will get a finish. I think both guys are good enough to where it'll probably go the different distance. But I see Pantoja hanging on to his belt with this one. I think he's just going to be too much for Kyle France. He's very well-rounded, and I think the odds have this one right. I could see Pantoja probably getting a big decision here.
And not as big of a favorite as Topuria is for sure, but still pretty big favorite.
Right. And Topuria, I think he's a really big favorite just based off of his last two fights. I really don't know if I would think just against Charles, watching Charles, if I would think he was that big of a favorite, but he's coming in really high. Like I said, he's finished two guys back to back that don't get finished, Volkanovski and Max. And this is the way he's done it. Topuria's a good fighter. It's going to be very interesting.
And maybe the best fight of the night is a non-title fight, but it's at lightweight.
Yes, it's an exciting fight. I like the kid a lot. Renato Moicano. He's an exciting fighter. He's good on the microphone. He brings a lot of eyes to his fights because people like him. And then he's fighting Beneil Dariush. Dariush is a guy who's been around a lot. He's fought a lot of the top guys. He's actually fought Charles. Now, Charles did beat him, but Dariush has a lot of good wins on his record. He's beaten guys like Tony Ferguson. So he's a guy to look for. He is a dangerous fighter. He is coming off of a knockout loss in his last fight, so it'll be interesting to see where he's at. He is kind of older now, but this is a fan favorite fight. That's why it's on the card. You don't really see two guys ranked 9 and 11 get this far ranked on the card, but they are, because like I said, they're both guys who are going to come in and bring it. The odds have it pretty much a toss-up, -105, -115. I like Moicano in this fight. I just think he's kind of at the better trajectory of his career right now. He's kind of getting into form. I know he's a guy that's bounced around weights quite a bit, but I think he likes lightweight, the 155 division. He's had some good wins, and I could see him getting Dariush, maybe finishing him. He's a guy that's good on the feet and on the ground, but so is Beneil Dariush. He's good on the feet, and he's got good wrestling. I would give the jiu-jitsu nod to Moicano, but I would think Dariush is probably the better wrestler. So that's a very interesting fight. Should be a fun fight, but I think Moicano will probably get that one done.
Down the slate, anything else?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Peyton Talbot comes back. He was a guy who came in with a lot of hype. He was 7-0 his first he was 9-0 with 7 finishes in his first 9 fights. He did lose his last fight. It was a weird fight. I think it was a late replacement fight for him. So I don't know if maybe he had a different game plan, but he just looked off that night. He's a younger guy, so it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that. So I'm interested in this fight just because, like I said, he was very hyped up. And he's fighting Felipe Lima, who's also a really good fighter. Lima's actually coming in as the favorite. Lima's 14-1. He's got 7 finishes under his belt. So this is a really good fight. Like I said, it's going to show us where Talbot is. Is he the guy they thought he was going to be? Or is he a guy that maybe just kind of had a little hype on him and faded as the competition rose? So this is a very interesting fight. It's the first fight on the pay-per-view. So it's going to have, it's a good fight to start the card. And like I said, it's a very interesting fight just based on the fact that I want to see how Talbot responds from his last fight.
And there's a bit of a sideshow with Jake Paul, right?
Yes, they fight Saturday night as well. He's fighting Jose Chavez Jr. I'm not too big on the Jake Paul train right now. I think he's kind of – some people think he's doing a lot of good for boxing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not really. He fights guys that's way past their primes, or he outweighs them by 20, 30 pounds.
sure.
He's had one real fight against Tommy Fury, and he lost. But everybody thinks he'll talk it up. Like he made everybody think he actually was a threat to lose to 60-year-old Mike Tyson. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
But you think he has his place, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna, the YouTube boxing thing's kind of taking off now, and I think he's the
Yeah.
head of that. He does have some skill. I'm not gonna just sit here and say he doesn't have any. He's put in some work, but until he gets in there and starts fighting real guys, I'm just not really interested in the Jake Paul sideshow.
Yeah.
Chavez, he's a guy who hasn't been serious in boxing for a decade now. He's just in for a money grab.
Exactly.
So it's not anything I'm going to pay to watch.
Is Manny Pacquiao a sideshow too, or is this something you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean Barrios is a good fighter. He's got some good names on his. I th- I know it's for a belt. I don't know what Pacquiao's doing. Some of these guys just can't ride off into the sunset. I don't think Pacquiao didn't look good in his last couple fights before he retired. I don't think he's going to stand much of a chance against Barrios. So I'm not really now that
How I
card.
feel about it.
Yeah, I think that card they're going to put together is going to be pretty decent. I think there's going to be a couple good fights on the undercard, but I don't think Pacquiao really has a chance in that fight
And the same
unless he
night
just
as Pacquiao. Go ahead.
unless he just comes loaded up on steroids.
Well, that could do it.
Yeah.
The same night as Pacquiao Barrios is Usyk and Dubois in the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world in Wembley.
Now that's a real fight. That's a real
There you
fight.
go.
That'll be the one get all the interest. Usyk's looked outstanding. He's a former cruiserweight champ, the heavyweight champ. In my opinion, I think Usyk's one of the best fighters of all time. I know a lot of people don't want to give him that credit, but I think he is. When you just watch him fight, he's super slick. He's super smart in there. He's good with both hands.
It would be interesting to see what he did in an era with really good fighters.
Right. I think
that's the question. I think if you put him in an era with good fighters, he's another guy. I think that's the issue people have.
Yeah, he's kind of caught the heavyweight division at the right time. Everybody thought Fury was the best, but he beat Fury handedly the second time. The first time,
an older Fury who didn't really seem to care going into that fight.
Didn't seem to care at all. He just had the big fight with Nagano, the MMA fighter, and he got knocked down by him. So,
and I don't want to take anything away from him. I don't want to take anything away from him, Hanson. I'm just saying I understand why people are questioning his resume as compared to the greats, I'm saying.
Yeah, and Fury's a guy who come in out of shape. He does battle demons on his off time. So, you never know what Fury you're going to get. I think we saw the best version of Fury in the Wilder fights, which, that's the thing, those knockdowns and stuff, that's got to take something out of him. He had 3 wars with Wilder.
And again,
I think that pretty much
took the hardest punch I've ever seen anybody get up from.
Yeah. I mean, I think, at the time, after those 3 fights, I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid myself, but I was looking at Fury as the best heavyweight of all time.
Again,
yeah, I mean,
I got to question the era.
Yeah, but I feel like Fury's skill set and the way he showed against Wilder's toughness, his speed, his quickness at that size, his movement. Yeah, I thought Fury was the best heavyweight I've seen.
Yeah. Would have gotten destroyed by Lennox Lewis. Just saying. September 13th, Canelo and Crawford. That's the next big one after the one July 19th, the heavyweight championship.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. I'm a huge Bud Crawford fan. I love this fight for him. I'm glad he's getting the opportunity. He's going to win this one, right? I think so. He'll probably be an underdog, but I'm putting my money on Crawford. He's a guy that's, outside of everything you get with boxing, Bud Crawford's there to fight. He's a guy that's had a tough upbringing. He's not looking for anything. He's just there to fight. And
Canelo has been there to fight his whole career, but I'm not sure it's there anymore.
No, I don't see it either. He hasn't had a finish, and I think Caleb Plant was the last time he stopped anybody. He looked uninterested in the Bivol fight. He hasn't tried to rematch that. A guy that, if I'm a if I'm a fighter, I feel like fighters that are still in their fire, they would want to get their loss back. He's had multiple opportunities to get that loss back against Bivol, and he hasn't taken it. And that just kind of lets me know that I think Canelo's cashing checks at this point. But you do that against Bud Crawford, that's a guy that, like I said, he's in there to win. He looked really good when he fought Spence. Now I think Canelo is a better fighter than Earl Spence. Canelo is going to be the heavier guy. He's probably going to be the bigger puncher, but Bud Crawford's tough. Bud Crawford's slick. He's good with both hands. His gym is kind of on a roll right now, and I know a lot of time in mixed martial arts that's a little more than it is in boxing. You'll see camps get hot and guys feed off of that, and that's kind of what's going on with Crawford. I mean, you got the Davis brothers who have been looking good in their fights. I really like their trainer. I think Bomac's a good trainer, and I think, like I said, I think Crawford's he's gonna be there to fight, and he's there to win it. And when they had the face off, he doesn't look that undersized Canelo. Now Canelo's thick, but Crawford looks like he's in good shape for it. It looks like he put on the weight the right way. I'm very excited for that fight. I think it'll probably be his last one. So it'll suck to see him, that'll be the last time we see Bud Crawford. But he's earned it. If that's the way he wants to go out, he's earned it. 4-division champ, 2-division undisputed. Like I said, he's beat top guys. At one point, everybody thought Earl Spence was the pound for pound. He made that fight look easy, stopped him in the 9th round, knocked him down 4 or 5 times in that fight. Bud Crawford's the man. He can fight. So I'm very excited for that fight. Canelo's a good opponent. He's a good draw, too, so it's going to have good fanfare to it. It's going to be a good show with Turkey putting it on. I even think Dana White's promoting it, so it's going to have a little bit of that behind it as well. That's going to be a really good that's going to be just a really good show. I think it's on Netflix, so it'll be free. So that's going to be a fight that a lot of people get to watch as well. I'm really looking forward to that fight.
So am I, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again pretty soon about fighting, and we're going to get a regular schedule here pretty soon, Hanson, and always appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing what we do in the future here.
I love it as well.
Thanks so much to Hanson. Love that I'm spending time talking sports with him again after a few years away doing that. And thank you so much for listening. If you want to help us out, continue to grow and thrive like what we're doing, please do us a huge favor and share these podcasts with your friends, family, strangers, and even your enemies. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of IPG Media, and I love Susie.